Alright, welcome to another Circus Scientist video. I'm making some cheap juggling clubs, LED juggling clubs. First I'm drilling some holes. This is the PVC-U type of plastic. I would recommend getting what's it called, polycarbonate, much stronger, but that's what I got. Some insulation for the battery. Do not touch the red and the black wire. Trust me, it's not a good idea. I don't normally use a lighter for this. Just didn't have my soldering iron on. As you can see, I underestimated how much gas is going to come out. There we go. It does work, but soldering iron's better. Just to shrink that heat shrink. And now we're just poking the wires through. In case you're wondering what those loud birds are, they're called hardy-dars. Anyway, let's stick the battery on. Unfortunately it didn't fit inside the tube. This is the cheapest battery I could possibly find. 100 milliamp hours for 20 rand. In US dollars, divided by roughly 20, that would be $1 for the battery. So I'm just demonstrating how I test things. We need to test with a multimeter. I always try to make sure that we have the right sides. I've got this jack with some crocodile clips on, which I use for testing my batteries, my POI batteries, and we're just testing which side's positive, which side's negative, so we can wire it the correct way. So there we have it. I've got the positive and negative. Also checking the throughput. Sometimes these little jack switches are a bit faulty, but this one was working. So let's go solder. So the circuit's very simple. The battery gets connected directly to the jack switch, but it also needs to, when the jack is switched, when the jack's unplugged, it needs to switch on. So the positive is going to be on the switch side. And don't forget your insulation. The hardy-dar has landed on the roof right next to me, so you'll probably hear him again. Every morning and every evening. So let's see. There we go, demonstrating the correct heat shrink method. Don't put flame underneath your circuits. Not a good idea. So yeah, this is really the tiniest bit of soldering, because if you can look on the bottom left hand corner of the screen, you'll see the circuit. That's the commercial LED circuit, not addressable LEDs. And I don't know if you can see, there's 3 transistors, 1 transistor for each color. So each LED has separate wires for the different colors. There's 3 colors, and you just drive them directly. I know how to make that type of circuit, but it is so cheap to buy these. This particular one cost me roughly 60 rand in dollars, $3 US. Pretty good deal. That's including the circuit and a ton of LEDs. Say 2 meters of LEDs, which I'm not even using all of for this build. So nearly done the soldering. We just have to solder on the board. One of the wires broke off, so I'm soldering directly on, but you could probably not do that when you're taking it apart and have the red and black wires without having to solder to the board. So you can see my positive goes from the battery to the jack switch, and then the switch is switches off at the moment. Switches between the battery going to the jack and the battery going to the circuit, and that's your switch. There we go, insulation. Extra little bits in the way. And insulation. Okay. I've sped this video up in case you're wondering. I don't actually solder this fast, but the whole thing didn't take me more than an hour to complete. The video is sped up and edited, obviously. I think this is the last wire. That's flux, by the way, if you don't know what I put on there. Bit of flux just to help the solder to stick on. More flux on the board. And yeah, last wire. That's tinning the wires. Please excuse my poor soldering skills. I am a software guy. And this is the last wire, by the way, if you're wondering what that white stuff is. That tiny little piece of white stuff. I don't know if you may not have it in your country. We call it press tick. In some countries you have something similar called blue tack. Very inferior product compared to press tick. Press tick is the bomb. It sticks just enough. Exactly the right amount of stick. Yeah, duct tape and press stick. It's pretty much all you need. So yeah, just putting some stuff away, and it's time for adding the LEDs. Make sure you wire them correct way around. And once I pull this jack out, boom, we got lights. Okay, so it's time to put everything together. So this tube I had from before, and it's going inside an old LED Juggling Club. And this LED Juggling Club I've had for could be 20 years. Don't throw anything away, okay guys? So just battling to do this for the camera basically, but we'll get there. So the Aerotech, in case you didn't know, was an LED, early LED, I would say the very first really commercial pro LED equipment manufacturer, and I had all of their stuff back in the day. Super expensive. This particular one only had 2 different colors, and you had to change the colors by tapping them. It had a kind of motion sensor. I don't know what it's called. When you hit it, it changes color. It had a menu and everything. So yeah, that's gone through, and I'm just insulating that. So like I said, this is a commercial LED strip, which actually comes with a remote control, just like K8, my beloved K8s. This has somewhat less functionality, but it's got enough, I would say, for the price. As I said, 60 Rand for this, including the controller, 20 bucks for the LED, I mean for the battery, and that's pretty much it. Oh, the jack switch, 10 Rand. I don't remember how much that tube cost me. And yeah, the outer shell from Aerotech. There we go, we are putting everything back together. Just got to shove that back inside the tube, which is now inside the Aerotech, solidly stuck. And double checking it works. So these jack switches come with a little screw-on washer, so you can, is that a washer? No. Anyway, you screw it on and it gets stuck. last bit, that's the handle. And electrical tape to hold it all together. I think originally these had they had some sort of industrial staples holding them on, but tape will do. And are we done? I think we're done. Oh no, one more thing that came out. Yeah, I miscalculated the amount of LED strip here because turns out you need to make space for the circuit. So I think I just had to cut some off so the circuit can fit in at the same time. These are cuttable, of course. Alright, we got a juggling club. Last thing, just going to use some double-sided tape just to stick that top piece. The top piece are made from one of those felt things you get for underneath chairs and table legs. You can buy these things, thick felt that you can cut yourself into your own shape. And we are stuck on. There we go, that's not going anywhere. Voila, let's test it out. LED Juggling Club for less than 100 Rand. I cheated, I used some stuff that I already had, but honestly, you could make poi for less than this actually, and they're not bad. Full daylight, doesn't look very good. I have to admit they're less bright than my K8s, and slightly less functionality as well. But having said that, I would use this at an event. I would juggle these. They look good. Show you the remote now. You can change colors. What's your favorite color? Just have to point it at the top where the receiver is. We've got some strobe functions. RGB strobe, I think this is. Yep. And another, we got a fade effect like that, kind of fading. So you can change the speed of the strobe as well. There's two different strobes. We've got rainbow strobe, 7 colors, and that's on super fast color change. So yeah, that is the dirt cheap LED juggling equipment build. Hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe. circusscientist.com for more.